General Secretary, Comrade Barry Jagdeo, President of the WPO, Comrade Indra Chanjapal, distinguished leaders of the PPP, WPO, PYO, and leaders of the Guyanese community, good evening, and let me say to you all, Happy International Women's Day on behalf of my wife Arya and I. In this room this evening, there is not much I can say to demonstrate to you the role women would have played and continue to play in the upliftment, development, and the freedom of this country, Guyana, we live in. In this room today, there are many sitting examples of women who sacrificed, women who toiled, women who sometimes, and some are not with us, pay the ultimate price, women of substance, women who make us today and make our country today the place it is. And I want us to put our hands together for these women that are still sitting with us. Whether it is the ever-glowing Philomena Sahai Shuri, who sits in front here, whether it is a transitional generation, an example of whom sit with us, Azina Baksh, and I'll come back to Azina Baksh, or whether it is the upcoming generation, Zaina Kolanda. They're all examples of the work that was done, the work that still needs to be done, the sacrifices that were made, the sacrifices that still needs to be made, and the challenges that still confront us in the future. And I come back to Azina Baksh. After the long struggles of Comrade Philomena Sahai and all the other comrades here, that led us out of a very harsh period, a very harsh history of our country. We thought that we were at a place where our politics, our relations with each other would have matured to a stage that political victimization, oppression, were things of the past. However, the treatment of a young woman, pregnant, dragged up the courts of this country, innocent as she is a harsh reminder that we still live in a cruel society. We still live in a society that still cannot respect and celebrate women who would have accomplished and achieved so much for our country. At that time, she was a deeds registrar. And I want to put your hands together for her spirit, for her fight, that she is still here and she is still showing us that she can provide the leadership under the tough circumstances. And Comrade Philomena, this is a legacy of the work that you and the others would have left behind. And to Zaina, who we would have all thought would never have to again struggle in a country as a young girl and as a woman to secure her rights, her fundamental rights, to secure the Constitution of our country, to safeguard the Constitution of our country. Again, we see that she would now grow up in a generation that will be part of a struggle to ensure that the Constitution of our country is adhered to and protected. So, I just give an example of three generations. A generation that fought, the transitional generation, and the generation that is upcoming, to demonstrate to us all that this fight and struggles and challenges of life changes itself, changes depending on the circumstances. And we all have to be strengthened, we all have to be nurtured to confront these challenges. And that is why the WPO is so important to our party and our country. Because the WPO helped in a very meaningful way to nurture young women and women to be part of this struggle and to play a key role, a leading role in the struggle for our country's freedom and in the management of our country. And I ask all of us today to put our hands together for the work of the WPO. Right in this room too, we have a man of great character too, who helped tremendously in the early days when issues of inequality were hardly addressed, to bring justice to many women in the hinterland communities, to bring benefit to women, to improve the living conditions and lives of women in our hinterland riverine communities. And I speak of Comrade Hari Prasad Nokta, and I think we should put our hands together for him. The People's Progressive Party has a history that is embedded in the struggle for the rights of all, in the protection of the rights of all. And our women in Guyana were no different. This party came into government at a time when the infrastructure of our country in 1992 was creating tremendous hardship on women more than men, because it is the women who had to get up early in the morning, get the water, fetch the water, get meals prepared, go back home and ensure there is water, and in those days you were taking water from a hole in the ground. So women went through tremendous struggles in our country. And during the period of the People's Progressive Party, we saw enrollment of female children growing to 97%. And I think this was a tremendous accomplishment of the People's Progressive Party in advancing the educational aspirations of women, growing access of education for women to 97% was a tremendous contribution, and we should applaud this. We saw during this period women participation in the labor force growing by 25%. We saw a decrease in female mortality below the age of 60. At one time in our country, women were not lucky enough to get to 60 to even see their pension. We saw an improvement of that by 25% under the People's Progressive Party civic government. We saw an improvement in the estimated gross national income per capita during those period of the PPP government by 140%, or US $3,000 increase. We saw employment of female in non-agriculture area increasing by almost 25% during the period of the People's Progressive Party civic and government. And this did not happen by accident. This happened because of the priorities of the People's Progressive Party civic government. Priorities that saw people-centered, people-first development. The priorities that saw investment in key areas: education, health, women development, social services, and infrastructure development, which included improvement of our water supply. We had less than 20% of our population having access to treated water, to water. By the time we left government, we had 92% of our population having access to water, and 63% of the population having access to treated water. And these are things that directly benefited and improved the well-being and welfare of women. But today, we're seeing a shift in the priority of spending. And that shift in the priority of spending is costing us. It is costing us in the healthcare system. It is costing us in our educational system, and it is costing us in our social services. Some of these include the removal of the $10,000 transportation grant that helps single parents to send their children to school. We are seeing now that our country has declined in terms of literacy, and women are mostly affected by this. Women are the ones who bear most of the burden when it comes to these issues. And this is as a direct result of the shift in priority by the government and where the government is spending. So, Comrade Indra, I want to assure you that the next People's Progressive Party civic government will continue the legacy of previous PP civic government in investing in the welfare, well-being of women, the improvement of our educational system, our healthcare system. It is sad today. It is sad today that whilst many internationally are talking about the potential of Guyana as a result of the oil and gas sector, we open the newspaper every day and we see babies dying at the Georgetown Hospital. And it goes unnoticed. And I want to say something to all women organizations. I want to thank the WPO for its inclusive program. You included representation from the trade unions, the teachers union, FITOC. I think this is a good demonstration of how women can play a key role in integrating and unifying Guyana. And that is a role that women must take very seriously. And I want to say that when the almost 2,000 Amerindian young people were fired, more than half of those were young women, young girls. Young women and young girls. Out of the 37,000 persons who have lost their jobs over the last 3.5 years, more than half of those are young girls and young women. The wives of the sugar workers who are now suffering, who now have an additional psychological burden because they cannot provide for their children or send their children to school, are fundamental issues that we thought we will never have to fight again for in this country. But unfortunately, they're fundamental issues that we still have to struggle for and struggle against. So I assure you that the next People's Progressive Party civic government will take seriously the investment not only in women, but the investment in families. And the foundation of families are women. So with these few words, let me thank you for your listening ear and wish all of you a productive International Women's Day. And let every day be a reminder of the tremendous contribution women would have played in our society, our lives, and the improvement of Guyana. Thank you very much.